Hello, this is part one of lecture on chapter 7. In chapter 7, we will start to learn the NIPA account, National Income and Product Account. This is where we learn to measure the domestic output of an economy and the size of the national income. So this will actually tell us how to measure the different components of the domestic output and how to add them together to get domestic output, and a related measure of domestic output is national income. We will also calculate national income in here in this chapter. Here, the assessing the economy's performance, we need to measure the size of the output of the economy, right? So this national income accounting, this accounting system, this is the one we use to do this, to measure the size of the output of the economy, and with that will tell us the overall performance of the economy, how much output the economy is producing given all the resources, right? Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship and technology. Now we have this Bureau of Economic Analysis, BEA. This is a government agency. They collect data, they make survey, collect data, compile data, and then edit and publish that data on a regular basis, right? Most often on a quarterly basis, but for inflation, they may do it price index for monthly basis. So Bureau of Economic Analysis, BEA, they are responsible for what? Collecting information, compiling information, and publishing that information of this NIPA, National Income and Product Accounts, right? So this is the framework we will use, and we will use to measure the output, which will tell us about the performance of the economy, right? So we will assess health of the economy. Is the economy doing good or bad? Well, once we do this exercise, once we measure the size of the output of the economy with this NIPA framework, right, it will tell us how the economy is doing. We can compare the performance, annual performance, quarterly performance with the track long run course, right? Long run meaning 50 years, 60 years, maybe 100 years. And then based on that, based on the long run course and the short run course, if there is need for improvement, then we can formulate policy, right? The government can take fiscal policy or monetary policy. Remember, we talked about them in chapter 6. Now, the first measure we want to discuss is this one, gross domestic product, GDP, right? GDP, we said this is the what? This is the measure of aggregate output. So measure of aggregate power output. So it is what? It is a monetary measure. That is, which means that this is in what? This is in US dollars, right? And aggregate output means that we measure the value of all goods and pieces and then add the value, right? So value we measure in what? Value we measure in what? Dollars, right? So and that is what we do. Now what about measuring dollars? And this is because you see we have many different type of goods in the economy. So suppose we have two computers and some and other products, right? Now how do we measure? How do we add the value of two computers and three tables, for example? How to add values? So we cannot, because these are two different type of things. Computers are different from tables. So but to get this aggregate value, we can then find out the value of these two computers in dollars, right? So how many dollars is the value of these two computers? How many dollars is the value of these three tables? Then add the value, and then that is how we can get aggregate output. See? So different goods, that every economy will produce thousands of different goods and services, and then we have the first thing we have to do is that what? We have to measure all of those in dollars and then add the dollar value, and that is how we get the aggregate output of the economy. When we want to do this, so this is one text example from your textbook, right? Table 7. This is table 7.1. 7.1, comparing heterogeneous output by using money prices. So let us discuss. Suppose we have year one. In year one, in one country, they are producing three sofas and two computers. See, and the same country in the next year, year two, they are producing two sofas and three computers. So they use all the resources of the country and produce these outputs, right? Now the sofa is price is $500 per sofa, and this price remains same in year one and year two. Also, computer is $2,000 per computer, right, price, and then that remains the same in year one and year two. We make it simple. It doesn't have to price. The price may change, but in this example, we make things simple. Now, what is the value? What is the value of market value of the output of this country in year one? So 500 sofa price is $500 per sofa and three sofas, $2,000 per computers and two computers. So we multiply, get value and add them, 5,500. See, and the next year value of output is 7,000, right? So just get the value of the two sofas is 1,000. Two sofas, each sofa price 500. Three computers, each computer price 200. So 7,000, right? Okay, we have that. Now we go to the next problem. Next problem, gross domestic product. So in here we when we want to add the value of goods and services, we have to be careful, right? So we have to avoid this multiple counting. We cannot count the value of certain things more than once. That will be misleading. That will give us an inflated inflated figure, right? So we will count market value of final goods only. See, these are all final goods. These final goods, these are meant for final consumption. This will not be used to produce something else. Those are like intermediate goods. The intermediate goods are produced to produce something else. But final goods are not like that, right? So and we count that what? Count value added. Count value added, right? So when we subtract the value of the final good from the value of the intermediate good, the difference between those two, the difference is what? Value added. So and then we add that here, add that in here. That is the example we will show in here. Suppose this is we are talking about producing this here we have to make one change. Let me see if I can make this change. Okay, so because there is a this so say this, suppose this we are talking about what? Coat manufacturing. Coat manufacturing from the beginning to the end, it has suppose 5 steps, right? There is a sheep ranch, the sheep is born, the farmer is not buying that, and that as a result the sheep ranch and they when the sheep has enough wool, the farmer will buy wool $120. So you see, the farmer did not spend any money to buy the sheep. It was born on his ranch, and then after a couple of years, when the wool of the sheep is good, big and long enough, they cut and they sell it for $120. So value added at this stage of production, farm A in the sheep range is what? 120 minus 0, which is 120. See? Okay. And then the next one is farm B. Farm B is what? Farm B is wool producer, right? Wool producer. So sales is 100, 100 sale, sales is 100 and 180, sorry, and then the wool producer, he will buy $180 worth of wool from the ranch, and he will sell it to the clothing manufacturer. So 180 minus 120 is 60. The difference is 60, right? Then farm C. Farm C is clothing manufacturer. Clothing manufacturer, sales value is 220. Sales value is 220, and wool producer is 180. 180. So 220 minus 180 is 40. 220 minus 180 is 40, right? Coat manufacturer is 270, right? Coat manufacturer is 270. 270 and then minus 220. So the coat manufacturer, he is buying clothing from clothing manufacturer for 220, and he makes coat from that clothing, and then he sells for 270, right? So it will be 270 minus 220, which is what? 50. His value added is 50. So when we in the GDP, we add this total value added. This is the correct measure. If you make a mistake and add this 1140, that sales value of the final good for all stages, that will be misleading, because this 350 already includes what? Includes the value added in the previous stages. So we only correct value added is 350, and here in 1140 you have multiple counting mistakes, right? Okay. So this is how we adjust, we measure value added in every line of production, in the production of every goods and services. Then we add it together and get the GDP, gross domestic product, right? So certain things. So GDP is the one. GDP, then if we review, GDP then is the final value of all goods and services. Is the market GDP is the market value of all newly produced final goods and services produced in the economy during the time under consideration, right? So we will not count intermediate goods, we only count final goods and newly produced goods and services, not old second-hand goods and services, right? And now here, these are two things we exclude from GDP. One is financial transaction, right? Public transfer payment. So if someone gets a social security benefit, right, or unemployment benefit or disability benefit, those are transfer payment. Those are one-sided payment without getting anything in return. So the public transfer payment means government giving money to the recipient without getting anything in return, right? So we call those transfer payments, right? And on the other hand, also public transfer payment, and this is just one-sided payment. These payments do not represent production of goods and services. On the other hand, we have private transfer payment. Private transfer payment, they do not have production. This is also like private charity, charity donation, right? Private transfer payments. So they also do not give any what? They also do not give any or anything in return. So like for AIDS awareness, or like recovery effort, like a hurricane or a flood, right? Many private institutions, they donate, they distribute food and essential services without getting anything in return. Those will not be included as part of GDP, but because these are transfer payments, nothing, they do not represent production of new goods and services. Then again, stocks and bonds, these will also not be included, because stocks and bonds, these are what? They are just paper certificate, right? You buy stock, they will just print a new stock certificate and put your name in there, remove the old owner's name, and that doesn't represent production of goods and services. And then, as we said, second-hand sales are you sell used car to effect. Suppose you have a what? Mustang 2005, right? Now this value of this car is what? was included in GDP of 2005 when it was brand new.